Recording now. Victor, your mic should be open. I don't know, Victor, if you can see that Marcy is on the call, Marcy Costa. I just lost you for a second. Marcy, you can unmute yourself at some point. And Samantha Reynolds, who is the manager over at Joe's American as well. Victor, can you hear me okay? Victor, your mic is open. No, Victor, now your mic is closed. You have to unmute yourself. You're open. Victor, can you hear us? Can you guys, can somebody just put your hand up or open your mic and tell me you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Victor, you obviously are having some kind of audio issue. Is your device muted by accident? All right, Victor, who is our chair of zoning and licensing and construction committee. I'm trying to unmute you. Okay, Victor, your mic is open, so you can speak. Okay, Victor, you just muted yourself. So I have not muted anybody. Everyone can unmute themselves at will. Well, while Victor works on that, I don't want to hold everybody up. Let's get started. Marcy is the attorney for Joe's, Marcy Costa. So Marcy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for having us this evening. I see some familiar faces. We just were at the Wharf District Council meeting, and I'm hoping that this presentation will answer some of those questions and help alleviate some concerns that I know the residents at Commercial Wharf do have. So as Cheryl mentioned, I'm representing Joe's Waterfront. They are looking to expand their non-live entertainment license to the outdoor patio of the premises. It would involve 3 speakers. I know that it was brought up to John. He did give me a call about the outdoor speakers, that it appears that there are 4. The 4th one was put up accidentally. It's not wired, and it is in the process of coming down. We confirmed with the person in charge of that at the restaurant as well this evening, following the last meeting, just to make sure that everyone was on the same page. So it will only be 3 speakers. And the goal is to have light background music and not to disturb the neighbors, because of course we want to work with the neighborhood as much as possible and with the residents, and disturbing them is not the goal. It really is just to provide light background music. The restaurant is open and willing to keep a sound reader on the premises so that they can make sure that they're falling within those allowed rates for the city for decibels. So that's under 50 decibels from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., which the patio is not even really going to be open. There's not going to be any music playing during those hours. And then nothing over that 70 decibel mark during the day when they are open. And I know also that someone had an issue. They heard the music coming from outside before this meeting. John did let me know that the electrician was at the premises that day, and it appears that while they were testing everything, it just wasn't turned off as it should have been. But the premises is aware that they are currently not licensed to be playing that music outside, and they shouldn't be. It just was an unfortunate instance where the electrician was in and something just didn't get shut off as it should have. So I wanted to make sure that that was just made clear, and that John did let us know that that concern was brought up. I do have a little image to kind of show where the speakers are going to be placed on the property, to show them in conjunction to where the residents are all located.
So I can share the screen.
Awesome. I've never done this, so hopefully.
Okay.
All right.
Nope. Hold on. I'm going to share multiple participants. There you go.
Awesome. So if I do this and I do this, can you all see?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. So I'm just a few images. The first one, obviously this is for an amendment to the non-live license. I wanted to give sort of a bird's eye view of where the speakers are located. So this first one here is on the end. It's about 12 feet from the edge of the building, which is sort of the closest space to the commercial wharf residences. The second one is over here on this other corner. This is where it appears that there are two back to back, but that second one is the one that was put up by mistake. So it will be coming down. There will only be 3 speakers. And then the last is this furthest one around the corner. Again, the goal of the speakers is just background music. I know the concern and some of the feedback has been, is there really a need for it? Is it really a draw for customers? And I think in this instance, it's really just to have an extension of that experience inside the restaurant outside, so that the people who are choosing to dine on that patio can enjoy some light background music and maybe ignore the sound that is coming from the street and from Christopher Columbus Park, and just sort of be able to hone in on the environment that they're in. I have some other images, just, that visual of what it actually looks like outside of the premises. This is where those speakers are located. And I know Victor wanted me to make it clear in comparison to the street and the other buildings where the speakers are. So I wanted to just show here, we have Joe's, all of the speakers are facing away from Commercial Wharf, which is its closest neighbor. And then here are Christopher Columbus Plaza and Commercial Wharf West across the street and across the park. The goal is to have the speakers angled towards the building rather than towards the street. That way all of the sound carries really just onto the patio and not making it outside. The goal is, and I know Samantha can speak to this as well, is to have that sound not carry beyond the boundaries of the patio. And of course, in an outdoor environment, I understand that that seems impossible, but that is something that we are really willing to work with the neighborhood, with the neighbors, to make sure that that is the case, so that if someone's sitting on their deck of their home, they're not and trying to enjoy their own music or their own television show, that they're not hearing the music that's playing at Joe's. And I know it was brought up that there may have been a street performer happening today. The goal would be to be much lower than whatever that street performer was putting out. It really is just supposed to be for the patrons of the restaurant and not to be interfering with the rest of the neighborhood. So I'm sure some people have questions, so I'm happy to answer anything that you guys have for us.
Do you have some specific ideas about the type of music you would be playing?
I'll let Samantha chime in on that one.
Can I ask, when people speak, please identify yourself?
Sure.
So that, Marcy,
51 Commercial Wharf,
Okay.
Giselle.
It's Giselle. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
This is Samantha. I did see another question about the scale of the speakers as well. In the last picture of the speakers on each spot, they're definitely not as big as it looks like in the scale of that picture. It's really just to show the placing of them. And so right now, a lot of the Joe's playlist that we play in the restaurant is just sort of like a everyday, we call it like the pop mix, just songs that you would normally hear on the radio. It's not played too loudly, things that you would, be familiar with, and it's kind of just something easy to listen to. And that's something that could vary and change, but it's just a general playlist that was made that we play at both Joe's Waterfront as well as Joe's Newbury.
So in other words, if I were to walk to Joe's now or tomorrow, whatever, this is the playlist that you currently have inside the restaurant?
Yes, it would be the same music that is playing inside.
Okay.
So it would just be an extension of the dining room to the outside patio.
Would the volume be the same inside and outside?
No, just to be respectful of the neighbors, the volume would definitely be much lower outside. And Marcy did mention that we would have that reader so that we could see exactly how many decibels we are at, so that we're well within that range.
And what is the range actually? What's your decibel range for the outside speakers?
Marcy has that one.
Yes, so the city has limits that you're allowed during certain hours of the day. So for the majority of the day, they're not allowed to exceed 70 decibels. The only thing that can be louder than that is construction. This would probably range from 50 to 60 decibels. It's just, that's the general background noise decibel range that one can expect.
I know exactly.
50 or whatever. That's all right.
And
How
Marcy,
does that compare to in the park, when you hear music in the park? What decibels are those to compare what we hear from the park versus what we might hear from Joe's?
I'm not 100%. I don't know what happens in the park. I don't know what their requirements are, but I do know that the music from the park can be heard throughout the entirety of the park and from the street. So that is probably going to be a louder decibel than is going to be played on the patio, because once you have that music and the patio music, we are not trying to have the patio music at Joe's compete with the park. It's not meant to be for the whole neighborhood and the streets and everybody in the park to hear clashing with that sound coming from the park. It's really just to, in that patio area. That's why the speakers are facing inwards towards the patio, not towards the street, so that that sound can, as best as possible, just lay within the parameters of the patio. Of course, if you're walking directly by.
Marcy, what I think some of the concerns that people have is, because many of us have lived here for a long time, is that this is over the water in an open space.
Yes.
Music and sound travels, because we can hear music and from the park. We just can. It travels right across the cove. And I think that's some of the big concerns that people have, is that it's more added noise.
Absolutely. And that is why the placement of the speakers, really only having that one on the water side of the building, is to try and limit the amount that's carrying. Of course, sound carries over water. The goal of the placement and the positioning of the speakers is to try and keep that as minimal as possible. Again, we're not trying to compete with any of the other sound in the neighborhood, not trying to compete with the sound that's carrying from the restaurants on the other side by the hotel, or the music coming from the park, just to keep it at that low background music decibel for the people enjoying their meals on the patio, so that they can escape from those other sounds as well and really just enjoy the experience of the restaurant.
I just, one more question. Would this be strict? I'm Giselle's husband, Alan. Would the music be played only in the summertime, when you have weather that's conducive to sitting on the patio? In other words, if there's nobody on the patio, then would you still be playing the music in the winter, in the fall, or what?
Samantha can confirm, but it's really just for when the patrons are on the patio. There's not just going to be arbitrary music playing outside in the winter months when there's nobody out there. It really is just for the enjoyment of the people sitting there, not just to play music for no reason to the streets.
And did you mention the hours that the music would be playing? Do you have a timing when you would start the music during the day and when you would end it?
So the music would start when the restaurant opens. So it's around 11 a.m. Right now, the restaurant closes 11 p.m. some nights and midnight other nights. This is something we want to make sure that we're working with the neighbors on. We know that music at night is a big deal and we don't want to disturb everybody. So of course, ideally like to play the music as close to closing as possible, but we do understand that that would be a big concern for neighbors. The goal is of course to not have the sound carry, but as other things slow down at night, if you can hear any music, we don't want that disturbing anyone's sleep schedules or any of their evening activities. So we would like to be able to play it as late as possible, but it is something that we want to work with the neighbors on what their hard no's are for timing. So when Samantha and I talked about it, we were saying about 10 o'clock would be a good time to maybe stop the music. But of course, we want to hear everybody's thoughts.
So I want to get to everybody and let everybody have a chance to speak, because there's a lot of people on this call. Either Patrice Vinci, your hand's up. Patrice.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, I just have I have a lot of very big concerns about this, and I am going to be completely transparent. I own a business on Newberry Street. I walk by Joe's all the time, and it's like a nightclub. The music is really loud. I live on the first floor, and I am the first unit right behind the guard gate. So that speaker is very close to my residence. I am a hairdresser and I cut hair all day long. If I come home and there's music and I can hear it, I am going to be very, very unhappy. And I want to know who's controlling this music. Is it going to be a 20-year-old employee in Joe's that puts the music loud? Who's in charge of the music? Am I going to come home from work, hear loud music, and have to walk next door and tell someone to lower it? I work very hard. I'm sure everyone else that lives here does too. And the reason that we moved here is because it's quiet. We pay a lot of money and I want it quiet when I come home. So that's my comment on it.
Thank you, Patrice. Who would like to go next? I can go down the list. Anne Louise, go ahead, you're up next.
Yeah, thanks to everybody. And Marcy, thank you for all the clarifications from the 5 o'clock meeting we were on together to the call right now. I think you've justified my concerns. I was the person that called John Romano at the mayor's office when the speakers, where there are 4 of them, were on Wednesday evening, April 14th at 8 p.m. And, I completely accept that your electrician made a mistake and enabled them when he shouldn't have. But nonetheless, as a unit owner at Commercial Wharf and someone who is close to Joe's, very, it's part of my life, looking out my window, I'm on the 2nd floor. I have to tell you, I'm vehemently opposed to additional noise here in our area. We are unfortunately all summer have to keep our windows closed for the amount of ambient noise that we're getting off of TIAs with just the sound of people there, which means everybody's windows has to be closed with the air conditioning on. If we're going to have it right underneath us, that only adds to the complexity. And quite frankly, you folks have plenty of business and, you've enjoyed some significant crowds since you've started reopening. I can't imagine that noise at music at a low decibel would even be heard by the patrons sitting at the tables there. So I think it's just an additional set of noise that I don't see it as enjoyment and entertainment, even for your patrons. And it would be a real hindrance to our quality of life at Commercial Wharf. And so, we would ask you to really consider taking a different approach and leaving your music inside as you currently have it.
Trash. Thank you.
So just, if I could just speak for just a second as well, is that okay?
Yes,
Cheryl?
please, go.
Just a couple of things. One, kind of coming off of what Anne Louise said, is that, once again, I'm not only a neighbor, as I've mentioned before, to Marcy and who manages Joe's, I'm also a customer. So I've enjoyed many meals on the outdoor deck, and I've never found the lack of music to be a deterrent. And certainly from the crowds that you have there today, I don't think the lack of music will be a deterrent. I had just, while we're speaking, you mentioned that 70 decibels was kind of the target range. And I just happened to Google how loud 70 decibels is. And, it is something you could hear from 50 feet. So it would add, some ambient noise. And if you measure the distance between our building and that speaker that you have on this diagram, you're just at, range. So, once again, and I said this in the last call, I'm not sure that the benefit that you're trying to bring your guests is worth the negatives that it's bringing in terms of the relationship with your neighbors. And I'll just leave it at that.
I just want to say too, 70 is the max that the city allows during the day. We're looking to stay well below that, around the 50 to 55 decibel range during the day. So that 70 is sort of the max level, which is of course louder. And that 50 feet, you are correct. I did do some measurements to see exactly how far the speakers are from the buildings. And that about 53 feet is that speaker to that corner of Commercial Wharf East. So the decibel range would be much lower than that 70 because that would allow for it to extend far beyond the patio, which is not the goal. Again, here it's really just to play the ambient music in the background at the location. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for your comments.
I would like to speak, Cheryl.
Yep, go ahead, David.
Yes, we used to live at number 38, and I'll say based on some of the past history with Joe's with regard to the trash opening area, we tried many times and we talked to people many times and trying to get them to keep the doors closed. And in fact, even now you look, the doors are wide open. We actually then moved away from number 38 because we were so sick and tired of seeing the open doors there. So I'm a little concerned about if the noise is too loud, that Joe's was not very responsive to this particular problem, and I don't know how well they'll be responsive to too much noise. And the other thing I wanted to say, I just wanted to clarify, you were saying that your hope is that the music won't be heard beyond your building property area. So, right, so your intent is for us not even to hear the music, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's the way the speakers are located, the way they're angled. The aim is really for it to just be on the patio. Of course, if there is a chance if you're walking directly by the patio, you may hear it, but for it not to extend beyond that. So if you're 25, 30 feet away from the restaurant, so that 50 feet to the building, that you're not hearing the music coming from the patio space. And to keep it, again, I know some people might have joined after, but Samantha and I were talking, and the restaurant would keep a sound reader at the premises to be able to read those decibels, to be able to make sure that they're not too loud. Also, just by crossing the street to the park, you'd be able to tell whether or not the music is too loud.
May I ask if anyone in your company have pulled the clientele that you have? You have a very solid and good for you, a successful follow-up. So are these people sitting on the terrace requesting, suggesting, asking for the music? My experience is that many patients, I'm a doctor, so I'm thinking about some of, what I hear from my clientele. They feel very constrained when they're in restaurants where the music is loud as they age and the hearing problems occur. It's not something that's universally loved by a clientele. I'm wondering, I understand you have the music indoors. Perhaps you should just keep it indoors and give people, your clients, a choice between sitting indoors and have the music, if that's what they choose and that appeals to them, or outdoors and enjoy, the laughter of children playing in the playground and just the sound of the seagulls.
Joe Collins, you wanted to speak? I'm getting texts from people that put your hand up. You got to open your mic. Unmute yourself.
You're muted.
You're muted, Joe. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Sorry. Because of the closeness of the buildings and because restaurants are open for a long time, I'm going to request through the board that all of the people who live within radius there have an immediate phone number, an immediate name, regardless of time. As long as the restaurant's open, I want the residents to be able to contact you immediately. That's number one. And number two, the other thing is we'd like to know, please let us know exactly who actually will be representing you. In other words, who in the corporate pyramid here, who exactly are the ones to whom we reach when we have some problems or some thank yous. So, but we need to have a permanent place to talk, send letters, and we need a phone number for contiguous property owners so they can immediately address the problem. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Can you supply, if this, just so everybody understands, this has to go to the licensing board for approval. And if it does pass, if they do agree to extend your entertainment license, that could be one of the stipulations.
Yeah, and we'd be happy to make sure that you guys are aware of who to contact. It would be Samantha. She's the manager at the premises. She's there every single day, except for those rare days that she gets off. So we can make sure that, you know, should it move forward, it's something that we work with the neighbors on, because we definitely want to be working with you all rather than against you, so that everybody can enjoy their spaces.
Is there anyone from Christopher Columbus Plaza that would like to speak, or Commercial Wharf West across the street? There's people on here that I don't recognize some names. No, all right. Anyone else from that would like to speak? Either open your mic or put your hand up.
Cheryl, it's Ann Louise. One more comment and follow up to David Freed's comments. David Freed and I were neighbors when he lived underneath me at Unit 38. The compliance with managing the trash area continues to be ridiculous. So what would make us think that even with a call-in number to verbalize our concerns about non-compliance with the noise, that would be any different than what we're dealing with the trash? So, you know, the track record, unfortunately, so far with your reopening has been that trash area has been left unattended and wide open and unkempt since you reopened, and we're not getting a huge amount of compliance there. And so why would this be any different?
I'm not sure if Samantha wants to comment.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to get on mute. Yeah, so I've been speaking with Scott almost daily about the trash area, and I can't really speak for issues in the past. I just came on board with Joe's prior to the reopen, but he does tell us often that the situation with the trash and the response and in terms of staging of deliveries and things like that is far better than he's ever seen in years in the past. So we talk daily about that trash area, and it is sprayed down twice a day. I know there was a picture taken of the door opened while our linen guy was wheeling out his cart, things like that. We try our best to make sure that that doesn't happen. But it means that we work with our delivery and our truck drivers every single day to make sure that they're on the same page too, because we don't want to have our trash door left open ever, or, you know, trash on the ground, anything like that. So we do clean that trash area daily. It is kept locked. There might be a rare occasion where someone's pulling something out of there and that door is open for a minute, but we try to make sure that it's not open much longer than it takes for them to walk right back to it and close it. So it's something we talk about daily, and we're now keeping a log and pictures of every time we spray it down and clean it down, just to have it on our side as well, for to show that we are trying our best to keep that area clean, because we don't want it to look unkept, either for our neighbors or for, you know, pest problems and things like that. That's our ultimate goal as well.
Well, we appreciate that a lot, but I will tell you that the door is open often to the trash dumpster, and there is nobody anywhere near there. So if you could just keep that in mind and talk to your folks, that would be terrific. I think everybody here would really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Who else would like to make a comment, ask a question? There's a lot of people on this call. Open your mic.
Hi. Erna Lawrence at Lewis Wharf. I am concerned. I mean, we talk about evening hours. I mean, we like quiet, peace and quiet during the daytime too. So, I mean, the thought of music, and I'm sure it's not going to be Strauss waltzes playing, does not appeal to me. Listen, even in the daytime in my retirement, I like peace and quiet. I moved to the waterfront for peace and quiet, and I'm distressed to think that you're going to have speakers outside. It seems to me that that's outrageous. You know, I don't understand about speakers outside anywhere, nor do I understand people who drive with their windows open and loud music playing. It seems like music should be something you share quietly, and I'm troubled by this.
Well, I'm Erna's husband, and I'd like to join in as long as she has the mic. We walked by there just 15 minutes ago. The dining area was full of people, and they all seemed to be having a good time. There was a lot of conversation. People were enjoying themselves, having good food and beverages. There was no music. But is it really something people miss? I mean, we didn't get the idea when we walked by a few minutes ago that people felt deprived because there wasn't any music. I mean, what's to be gained by putting music out there that's obviously going to be distressing to some of the residents.
Here, here.
Here, here.
Thank you guys so much for your comments. We completely understand your concerns. You know, as I mentioned previously, it's really just because the experience on the patio is also a Joe's American Bar and Grill experience, just the same as the people sitting inside. And that's really the purpose of having that music playing on the patio. As we mentioned, you know, the goal is for it to be low. The music from Christopher Columbus Park would be far louder than any music coming from the patio, and they're not going to be in competition with one another. So the speakers, their placement, their angle, everything about the way that this has been thought through is to minimize the amount of sound that carries off of that patio area. So that if you're walking by, yes, you may hear the background music playing, but once you exit that immediate premises of the restaurant, that it's not something that you have to worry about, so that you can enjoy as much peace and quiet as you can have, barring, I can't speak for the other sounds around the neighborhood, and of course, just the general street noise. But the goal is that the Joe's music coming from the Joe's patio is not going to be another thing adding a stressor onto your day about noise. I think
Eileen, go ahead. Eileen, you need to unmute your mic.
Getting there. Okay. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, Eileen, you're all set.
Okay. I know I spoke at the earlier meeting, so I will be brief. I just want to reinforce to everyone who's called. You know, I live immediately opposite and on top of Joe's on the 5th floor. And I am very concerned about music playing all day long into the evening. You know, 10 o'clock, frankly, is past my bedtime. And it also would, you know, interfere with basically the enjoyment of my property. And even, you know, talking about other music in the park, that's usually something that's happening, you know, during the day for a limited amount of time over the weekend. And as I said earlier, that's part of city living. But I am very, very concerned about music from 11 o'clock in the afternoon until 10 or 11 at night, 7 days a week, really disturbing our peace of mind and our units.
Thanks, Eileen. And again, the time of the music stopping is something that we are very much willing to work with the neighbors on and to come to a general consensus. The hours of the restaurant too right now, it's currently not open Mondays and Tuesdays. Although it may actually, what day is it today? Tuesday.
So we started.
Did we just change them?
Hours. Yeah, the last couple Tuesdays were projected nice weather, so we kind of scrambled to get open for Tuesdays, but we will be open 7 days coming up this week.
Okay.
But and actually, I'm hoping you're open 7 days because that means our economy is coming back and business is coming back. I'm not interested in having you have a restricted business. I'm just, like I said, I'm very concerned that I just want to be able to sit in my living room and have peace and quiet in my home and on my balcony. And I think as many as the other people have said, you have a wonderful booming business, and adding music doesn't seem to be like very crucial to that experience for your.
Thank you, Eileen. Bubba, do you want to speak? You just wrote something pretty interesting in the comment section about.
Yeah, from my background is vibration acoustics. I'm a former faculty at MIT, do a lot of detailed acoustic studies of various scenarios and speaker situations and outdoor environments. I just don't see how you can get it so your speakers will not be perceptible to my place at 59, but even the closer locations and apartments and Commercial Wharf. It really depends on what the ambient levels are. And at nighttime, it can be very quiet during the week. And it also depends on the type of music and whether your ear can pick it out relative to the ambient levels. And you certainly can, people are very good at picking out certain tones at very, very low levels, even in a higher ambient. So I just don't think acoustically you can achieve what you're trying. It's a noble goal. I just don't think you can achieve what you're trying to achieve from the physics of acoustics point of view at that site. Nothing blocking the sound, low ambient levels at night, and during the day maybe, but then the ability to pick up, you can hear a tone, you can hear a musical tune, even in a high ambient environment. So you're just adding to a perceived noise level that's out there already. So I actually just ate dinner, Joe's, on the patio. I love the place. I love your business. I think it's great that you guys are open. I just don't see how you're going to keep levels below perceptible, and certainly not to levels that wouldn't be annoying to many of the residents, including myself, who really like the quiet environment we have here. And not on Thursdays and Saturdays with Tia's, with people blazing. They don't even have music. That's just background noise. But on weekdays it's so quiet, and as soon as the hustle and bustle of the day goes beyond, it's so quiet. I just don't see how you're going to accomplish it. So I'm really strongly against having outdoor speakers. The speakers you've installed are also not directional. They're broad broadcast speakers. So you don't even have the right hardware if you wanted to achieve what you wanted to achieve.
Could I just ask something to Bubba? What you said was quite remarkable, and obviously you have the science to back you there. Perhaps we should project what you just described to another impact for all of us, which is value of real estate. One of the reasons why we all selected these apartments at Commercial Wharf, which we all love, is because of the peace and quiet. And presumably that is why the value of our apartment is increasing, and certainly feels like a good investment if and when we are ready to move on. I think that we have to understand that if there is noise around, the appeal that so many of you have expressed so well about choosing this place because of the peace and quiet, whether you are here because that's what you chose for your retirement, or because you worked as a hairdresser and you need peace and quiet for your mental sanity, or whatever it is. I think the peace and quiet here is an extraordinary gift that we all share as neighbors. And I think that endangering this will, in addition to our immediate, discomfort, will certainly impact on the eventual value and resale cost of our apartments. And this is something we should keep in mind for the long run.
Well, I think that everybody, when they get home, looks to have some quiet enjoyment of their home, no matter where they live in the city. And we all know that there are noises in the city and that can't be avoided, but this seems to be an added noise that could be avoided. Who else?
Noise is uncorrelated. Music is a tone, it's correlated. You'll pick it up in the background much, much better than a random crowd or traffic noise. It's a whole different thing. Right? It's what you can perceive is different for music than what you can perceive for road noise.
Thank you, Bubba. Will this travel across the street and into the park?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So the children play right out in front. They have the children's park right out front.
Well, they'll get music.
And it will also clash then with any other music that's there. It's going to be a cacophony.
Yes, there already is a cacophony here. Kristen in 55, please open your mic. I know you want to speak.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So just a quick question as to why now. I know that Joe's has been open in the past and had people out on the patio in the past. Why choosing to play music now?
I can chime in and then Samantha can chime in as well. I think there's even more of an emphasis on outdoor dining these days. And again, it's just that extended experience of eating at Joe's, that same experience that everyone's having indoors, but you get to have it outdoors as well. And just to comment, I obviously am not an engineer about sound and all of that good stuff. And all, but I think that it would be never say never. And it's, again, like I said, we really do want to work with the neighbors to avoid having an impact on your everyday lives and having an impact on your peace and quiet in your homes. So it's whether that's working on using all 3 speakers, or maybe it's only 2 speakers that allow for the music not to travel as far, or the decibel levels going even lower than what we think that they might need to go. You know, the hours of operation of the music outside, all of it is things that we're willing to work with the neighbors on. And if 2 days in, everybody is saying that they can hear it from even just 10 feet away on their walk to the building, it's something that we want to make sure that we are working with. I know Samantha is just joining this location, and she's very interested, as well as being, you know, an ally to the neighbors and making sure that everybody's kind of in harmony in the space. So the goal is not to have any clashing with other sounds. If it's hours and what time of night the music's playing that's of an additional greater concern, then it's something that we look at and we adjust based on the concerns of the neighbors. So I just wanted to.
I just want to add something. When the city allowed the north end or outside dining throughout the city, I know that there is no music allowed outside in the north end. And John Romano was on this call from the city's Office of Neighborhood Services, and he might be able to explain the difference of that. He explained it to me this week. But the restaurants on Hanover Street and the sides of the streets are not allowed to have music outside. But that is part of those regulations when the city allowed outdoor dining. You know, it doesn't apply in this case because there is already an entertainment license. John, please jump in and correct me or clarify so that folks here know how that works.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. Hello, everyone. So just to clarify on the differences here. So the Joe's patio out here is not a temporary extension patio through the outdoor dining program that the mayor's office and that the city of Boston has put together in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Joe's is a permanent patio setup that's out there. So they have different rules to follow versus the temporary extensions outside. They're able to come and request a license for an entertainment license because they are a permanent patio. The other patios that you see in and around the north end, like the ones on Hanover Street or the ones on Salem Street or the ones that have popped up throughout that are in the parking lanes or some on the sidewalks as well, those are not permanent patio setups. If they are, they follow those different rules. That's why they're able to come here tonight to be able to request an entertainment license for outdoor music. And they would then follow the rules and regulations of that license and what would go forward as if this was a year when we didn't have outdoor dining. So same rules that would have applied in 2019 or that will apply in the future, dependent upon, you know, this program. This patio would not follow a program of that suit.
Thank you, John. Does anyone have any questions for John?
I do. Well, I just want to
Go ahead, Joe. Joe Collins.
bring up a couple of other things. Now, what's the seating and how many people are allowed on the top floor, first of all? Number two, how many bars are there? How many bars will be serving alcoholic beverages? How many people by law can be there? And add that to the music. That's the concern. Thank you.
So just to quickly answer, so it's 80 seats on the patio. There is not an outdoor bar. It's not like a TIA situation where people are kind of there really to stand and drink. It's much more of a family environment where you're really there to eat meals. So it's
Marcy, what he means is how many people are in the building. That adds noise too. That's what.
Oh, indoors. Samantha,
how many seats can the restaurant have?
Between the, I'd have to double check on the licensing, but between the two floors, there's likely somewhere around 200 seats total, maybe inside. I'd have to double check on that because now it's a little bit different with spacing and things like that, but.
That's true, yeah, okay. Does anyone else have a question?
Cheryl, I just had a comment if I could make it. This is Lori Cadigan. I'm in unit 41 at commercial work on the first floor, very close to the dumpster. I'm just concerned about the slippery slope that this approval will allow TIAs, maybe the living room space if it opens up again, any other, you know, planned standard approved outdoor spaces that could then get in line to get, you know, approval for more speakers. Before you know it, we'll be at this every, you know, several months trying to figure out how to control many requests for this kind of license. So I'm just very concerned. I know that, you know, we kind of chuckle about the peace and quiet of the neighborhood. We obviously have our standard noises, but I think that, as you say, this isn't a noise that's easily
Hey, honey,
controlled.
can I ask a silly question? I've never archived any emails.
Yeah.
And that's clearly taking up space. Can I just get rid of all the
I'm
archives?
sorry, who's speaking? Because you're not muted and we're hearing a private conversation. It
Well,
sounds
it's
like we're
telling
hearing
me to get
about
rid of
emails.
stuff.
Go ahead, Lori.
I think I'm done. I just wanted to, as I
Yeah,
said,
well, they're
I'm
taking up.
in, it looks like Kathy Sharpless is unmuted.
Oh, there's a lot of people unmuted.
Okay. I just want to make a comment. If, you know, one approval is one thing, then before you know it, Tia's will ask for speakers. If the living room opens up, I think they have a patio that's already approved. I just think that, you know, it's a slippery slope is my comment.
Okay. I muted a couple of people. I wasn't sure who was talking. Would anybody else like to ask a question or make a comment? Because we're getting to 8 o'clock. Just open your mic or put your hand up. I mean, you can actually physically put your hand up. I'm scrolling through. Nope. Okay. Nothing else? No one else? Victor, I don't know if you ever got your mic open, Victor Bonia.
I'll say something more. If I go to the sale loft, I want to have a choice of whether I want to be able to chat and be able to hear my person I'm having lunch or dinner with. If I can be outside, if I want to have noise and loud music, I'll go inside. So I think it's nice for people to have a choice. And I think I'm really against this because we just have music imposed upon us. And I think we are a slippery slope. I agree with that comment.
Okay. All right. So just so everyone, are there any other questions? Because I will wrap up. I think Victor just had an audio technical problem tonight. Joe's and Marcy and Samantha will be coming to the NEWRA meeting on May 13th. The NEWRA membership will vote on to either oppose or support their request to expand their entertainment license to outside. Please plan to attend to make your comments known. You can write to the city, to the licensing board, to John Romano with your comments. Be active, have a voice in your community. Is there anything else, Samantha or Marcy, that you would like to offer tonight or to talk about?
I think that's it. Again, we really want to work with all of you and make sure that everybody is harmonious in the neighborhood. And the goal is really not to have these speakers have an impact on your everyday life. So anything that we can do, any other questions you have, you can feel free to send me an email. So that's mcosta, C-O-S-T-A @mqmllp.com. Feel free to send me an email. You can also give me a call. This information is on the flyer, but again, that number is 617-946-4600. And you can ask for me. That's my firm's number. We really do want to work with everybody. So any comments, any questions that you might have, please let us know. And, you know, we look forward to meeting with you all again in a few weeks.
Okay.
So thank you for all of your comments and concerns.
And good luck. You know, I want you to know that we are really happy that you guys are open and people do come in and patronize your restaurant. And we're thrilled that things are coming back and folks are going back to work, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.